ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Thrilling 32 Throwdown. Today we will be talking about Leviathan from Canada's Wonderland in Vaughan, Ontario, which is taking on Twisted Colossus from Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California. So what this is, if you haven't seen the other videos, we're taking one of the matchups from the first round of the Thrilling 32 selection show, and we're going to talk about that matchup, those two coasters, head-to-head, and we're going to compare them. I'm going to give you a little bit of information and just talk for a few minutes about the two rides going up against each other. So Leviathan, Canada's Wonderland, opened in 2012, the first B&M Giga Coaster. A former champion of the Thrilling 32. It won in 2013, so it has ranked number 1, but it has ranked as low as number 13. Now, it's done very, very well. Overall, it's a record 18-5 over the course of the 6 previous years that we've been doing this tournament. So 18-5 is Leviathan. Twisted Colossus, a little bit newer, 2015, built by RMC. It has its lowest rank is also number 13, just like Leviathan. Its highest rank, number 6. So Twisted Colossus has done very, very well, but its record only 3-3 in the last couple years. Has faced some early tough matchups here. So what's interesting is that both of these rides have never been lower than number 13. Leviathan has won, Twisted Colossus has not. But these two rides, generally speaking, I think a lot of people rank very close to one another, despite their differences.
Well, I think the commonality here is I've been trying to find commonalities between all these rides that we're matching up, is that both of them have significant flaws in their rides. That you look at Leviathan, and the whole second half is after the turnaround, the whole second half is pretty much a throwaway part of the ride. That not a whole lot happens there, not a whole lot of intensity. I've always said that, for having such a great first half on Leviathan, the second half is equally as bad. It's just throwaway. And you move over to Twisted Colossus, and the great criticism there is that you got a big lift hill in the middle of it. That for a lot of people completely destroys the pacing of the ride. And maybe even some say that it slows it down way too much. And going through the second half, that essentially is so similar to the first half. Obviously, there's very distinct differences between the first half and the second half, but the two halves are so similar, it's kind of like you're just rewriting the same ride over again, and some people don't like that aspect of it. And then you have two completely different fandoms of, the West Coast fans really, rally behind Twisted Colossus a lot of times, and point to that as being, the greatest roller coaster of the West Coast. I've always disagreed with that. I don't think it's the greatest roller coaster in the park. I think that title belongs to X2. And I've never understood why so many people rally behind Twisted Colossus like they do, whereas Leviathan, it's the champion of Canada. It's the Canadian champion. The Stampede wrestlers up there, all the Jerichos and Edges. I
go with Behemoth.
and once again, some people say it's not even the best ride in the park. That some people say Behemoth is clearly the best ride in the park. So a lot of similarities between these two rides. How I personally rank them, I have Leviathan as being higher than Twisted Colossus. Twisted Colossus somewhere in my 20s. Leviathan, somewhere in my teens. So there's a clear distinction there for me. But I could totally see how this one's going to be decided. It's going to be a close vote here, and to see how people ranked it in the Ride Warrior Choice Award poll.
Yeah, I mean, I am one that personally has Leviathan a little bit higher here. I moved Twisted Colossus up after going out over Labor Day. I did move Twisted Colossus up. Twisted Colossus, I think, is a great ride. I don't think it's one of the stronger RMCs. I think it's kind of middle to just below the middle of the pack. I'm looking at my rankings right here. I have Twisted Colossus number 25 on my steel list, which, that's over 500 coasters. Yeah. So they're still both very, very strong and very high on my list. I have Leviathan at number 15. So I do have Leviathan a little bit higher, not tremendously higher. you know, there's Leviathan is one of those rides that I've had really, really good rides on, and I've had some rides late in the season when it's been cold and wet and rainy up at the Ace event where some rides on Leviathan are just okay. You know, it's really, really difficult because even though you pointed out a lot of similarities between these two rides in terms of the way they're viewed, when you break down the rides themselves, they are very different. Leviathan is a lot about the speed, has some good airtime mixed in. I would argue the best element on Leviathan is either the speed hill or the first drop. I think those are the two best elements right there. And on Twisted Colossus, there's a lot of really good elements, but there fails to be, I think, the one standout element that you point to and say that's the best element on the ride, like the speed hill. Leviathan is very much a speed, not so much an airtime ride. Twisted Colossus is sort of a mix. It's not really a speed ride. It's a mix between an airtime ride, but it's also a visual ride. And the thing with Twisted Colossus is such a big part of the Twisted Colossus experience is that racing aspect. And when it happens so little, and it oftentimes it does not happen, I think that tends to sour some people on that ride. We rode Twisted Colossus, I think, close to 10 times when we were out there back in September. And only once or twice did we actually race with the other train. So, you know, that when it happens 1 or 2 out of 10 times, that really kind of just takes a little bit away. And I wonder how people factor that in when they rank a ride like Twisted Colossus. So I'm interested in seeing this. You know, Twisted Colossus, as we saw here, not a lot of fluctuation into where it ranks. It always ranks kind of, you know, in between 5 and 15. That's a pretty solid range right there. Leviathan had always been in the top 10, dropped a little bit last year. Maybe that's the Fury effect. And, you know, people realizing, well, Fury's better than Leviathan. Leviathan isn't, you know, all that. So it's real interesting that, you know, Leviathan has that big record at 18-5, Twisted Colossus only at 3-3, but to see that they rank so similarly over the years here. So I'm really interested to see how people try and select this one. I think this is one that people, I think we'll see almost a 50-50 split here in terms of what people pick.
Well, and, you know, I think this is one, once again, like just like the last matchup, where I think the ride that I think is better is going to fall in the first round. I think Twisted Colossus, based on the California fans, I think that's going to be ranked higher in the overall poll. So I think that's what's going to happen here again. But like you said, we're going to have to find out when the first round is revealed for the Thrilling 32, the first round in a few weeks here. So as always, I'm Andrew Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
Right on, Ride Warriors.
Thanks, guys. Good luck.